Hi, welcome to our Chit Chat brought to you by Equinox Learning Hub. I'm Tori and this is
Chrissy.
Hi. So today we're going to be talking about Yule and Christmas and how we deal with that within our pagan home. So, because Christmas is everywhere, right, Chrissy?
Oh, definitely. It's all over here.
It's just kind of vomits everywhere. It's really hard. So integrating Yule into your homeschooling calendar and integrating Yule into your family life sometimes can be hard because we are so surrounded by the thoughts of Christmas and the scenes of Christmas and all of the mythos according to Christmas and all of the commercialism that is brought about by Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yule by itself really isn't a terribly commercialized event. It's so much more about reflection, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think for right now, especially from me going into paganism, what kind of got me really into it was just about bringing nature into the home, and just like you said, self-reflecting and just being part of, your community and just being part of the season.
Yeah, like I think for me, the season definitely, you speak to the season as something that is in nature, and we do respect the fact that it's dark and it's cold, and we are much more within and looking for that comfort within our own homes. And commercial Christmas says you can buy that comfort, but in reality, you really can't, because at the end of the day, when you bought yourself comfort, you're left with a very empty bank account and the same problems you had going in. Whereas this time of year for a pagan family is very much more about, visiting that shadow self and looking at our dark thoughts and our like not being all gloomy, but like basically kind of looking at some of the troubles and some of the things that can be problematic going forward forever in life, right? So anyways, today we're going to be talking about that, not too gloomy, but we're also going to be bringing some, well, not my nature, because oranges come from like Florida, but we're going to be doing a pomander together. So I kind of pre-wrapped this one already. So you can see that we just kind of gave it a bit of a base, and then you'll hang it from here, or you can just put it down somewhere. It doesn't really matter. You make a group of them. I know what a group of pomanders would be. Do you think there's a name for a group of pomanders?
The palmettos. I have no idea.
Yeah,
Maybe a pod. Could it be a pod?
a pod of pomanders. I do like it. So we will assume that it's a pod of pomanders. So to make a pomander, you obviously need an orange. You don't have to wrap them. A lot of people do so they can hang them. You don't have to wrap them. I choose to use this really cool t-shirt yarn just because I like it and it's really stretchy.
It's very cool. I love the color.
But you can use whatever. So you can use different yarn. You can use ribbon. Lots of people use ribbon. I just didn't have any. And I said, or not. And so basically these empty spots where there isn't any ribbon, that's where your cloves go. Now cloves are inherently pointy. Let me show that. See, they're very inherently pointy, but they're not often pointy enough to really jam them into your orange without really getting sore fingers. So you can get a toothpick or a stabby stick. I have a stabby stick. And then you just stab the orange where you want the clove to go, making a hole. And it's just easier to get that clove in there at that point in time without your fingers losing it, because they're really sharp. They're sharp on this side too. And there you go. There's our first clove.
See, I love how you became so prepared. You got your oranges, you got your little yarn thing, you got your pokey poke stick and your cloves. And I know this sounds really kind of silly, but I never thought about actually poking the hole first and then putting a clove in. I usually spend like my whole time just trying to dig it in.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm all about the stabby stick to pre-stab the hole for the like the cloves to go in there, because otherwise, like your finger really hurts after a while. It gets really sore, and like I don't like really bruised fingers. The thing is, you can't do a lot of holes at one time, so because you can't see them. So when you're doing your stabbing, got a couple in there now. So when you're doing your stabbing, you actually have to just do one hole at a time, because when you stab the orange, you go, stabbing orange with stabby stick, you cannot see the hole because oranges have a really rough texture. And we don't want to make a lot of extraneous holes because then it doesn't dry properly. So one hole at a time, just pre-stab and then jam the clove in there. So the cool thing about pomanders, Even my daughter said as we were preparing this, she's like, oh no, they're just going to dry and get disgusting. They really won't. The cloves help preserve the orange. They also make it help smell really nice. And they help preserve and dry the orange. And then when we're done with your pomander ball, if you then roll it in cinnamon to boot, getting in all those little areas that are still a little bit wet, it also preserves it a little bit better and makes it smell nice. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How long do you guys keep yours around during the season?
We have actually been known to pack our pomanders up for the next year. Believe it.
Awesome.
But if they're really ugly, so they didn't work out well, yeah, they go when I pack up the Christmas tree. So there's a good question. I just said Christmas tree. I could say Yule tree. I do often correct myself to Yule tree, but it's really hard to remember to do that, right?
I kind of find myself doing that a lot, especially again, Robert and I, my husband, we were out earlier today going to the grocery store.
Yep.
And of course, they have all these trees, right? And of course, you just, you see the word Christmas and it goes back into your vocabulary. And then when you're like, oh, but it's Yule for us, and the Yule tree predates the Christian tree, and you know all the rationale, but you're like, oh, because it's there, right? You just can't get away from it.
Well, and plus it's habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's habit. You get used to a certain vocabulary, and your brain just gets used to calling it a certain thing. Because again, we all came from somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. Very few of us are actually hereditary witches. And so we all come from somewhere, and we all have family and parents and grandparents and whatever. And when it's been called that for forever, believe it or not, there is actually a term for that. It's called learning interference. So your previous learning, in this case, Christmas, interferes with your current learning, in this case, Yule, and creates a dissonance in your brain that makes it extremely difficult to actually remember terms. And that is something that happens in school too. So when we are doing new activities in school, like our schooling and stuff, I mean homeschooling, a lot of the time when you're schooling at home, you can make allowances for learning interference by just taking more time. And that's really what it is. It's just repetition, right? Repetition. The more you say Yule instead of Christmas, the more often it is that that's going to be the first word that comes to your mind. The same is true when you're schooling at home. You have the time, you have the leisure to be able to repeat those lessons so that the lessons can then replace the learning from before. Mm-hmm. And it's, I think that's one of the really big strengths to mastery learning, wouldn't you say?
Definitely repetition, just doing it over and over, that's saying practice makes perfect, continuing doing that. And yeah, I definitely see that. And, and putting that vocabulary into our everyday language is very important. So, Tori, you spent a lot of time. You are love it. It's so pretty. So you and your family, you homeschooled your kids.
I did.
So, and I know that during this time we talked about previously that this time of the year it would get really crazy with family, and you guys were military families, so you guys were, had to deal with that schedule and stuff like that. So how did you guys keep up with, academics and, the holidays during this time?
Well, I mean, sometimes we didn't. I'm not going to lie and say we were perfect. Sometimes we just didn't. And sometimes we just took a day off, and that's okay. Sometimes we just went tobogganing up here. That's a thing. Sometimes we went for walks, and then we did a lot of nature learning at this time of year. And sometimes you just had to buckle down and kind of do it. But really the best suggestion I have, and what we found worked the best, is we just schedule the crap out of November, end of November, going into December, and then all of December, and then the first part of January. We just followed a really good schedule, and it was a reasonable schedule. The schedule actually included going to museums, this is a great time of year if you've got museums close by or art museums. It's a great time of year to schedule because it is colder out, and it isn't necessarily as fun to get outside, but you got to get out. You can't keep inside. And so we would schedule when we did work, our work was a little bit easier, like on our brains. We did a lot more fun stuff. I like to say we did a lot more crafts, but I had a kid who was incredibly craft resistant, really craft resistant, like would not do them. So instead of like we kind of did different things. So Holly would do more crafts. So my daughter would do more crafts, and Eric would do a lot more computer stuff. So he would he learned how to 3D print over the winter. From the end of November to mid-January, he just kind of taught himself to 3D print. And then he actually 3D printed most of the Yule gifts that year. And just practicing. That didn't mean we didn't have a lot of disasters. We did. There was filament everywhere. It wouldn't stop printing. So when the filament would break, it would break on the object that was on the stand, right? Like on the platform. And so it was like, bleh, it was all over. And then the filament would just keep going. And so like we went through like an entire roll of filament filled my dining room one time. It was crazy.
We had that issue. So, I taught computer science and everything. And we had this STEM lab and trying to learn how to do the 3D printer and not go through the whole thing of filament like every time you're trying to experiment.
Oh, no. Did you guys have an Andor?
I'm just going to, no, I can tell you that. No, we did not have that. No. My district bought whatever was on sale at is probably a hand-me-down. Like we didn't even have the manual. We had to look up.
Oh my God, really?
Yes, we had to look up like different parts, and it was actually kind of a great thing for our kids to do some research and try to figure out how to work. And we had a few kids that are like, okay, we're going to figure this out. And they had previous experience because they also had 3D printers.
Yeah.
At home. So, but no, I love that Eric took the time and made the Yule presents for everybody that year.
Yeah, like he made a really pretty soap dish for one of our good friends, which was really cool. It was like a piece of seaweed. Probably the coolest thing ever. I've asked him to make another one though, because of course PLA breaks down over time, and so her soap dish with repeated water, of course, it's biodegradable PLA that we bought, so it biodegraded, and so she needs a new one. But he's like lost the plan for it. But he made me a goddess statue, and I know, and he made a couple other things too. He made me some like witchy gnomes for Yule.
That's so
it was really cool, and did a bunch of other things too. And that, of course, parlayed into a school project again because we were homeschooling, but doing something called directed learning or directed education. So it parlayed into school credits, which was really exciting because they were like super excited by him learning that, and it was something that nobody had really done before. So this is Holly here. So Holly has brought the witchy gnomes, I guess. So
very cool.
Yeah, so that's the little one, and that's the other one.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and that's this one here.
I love it. And I love that, like, you guys were able to, even where him, I'm sure at the time he wasn't thinking it, but he was learning code. He was implementing, like, the research that he was doing. So he was learning, but also, again, creating homemade gifts and getting away from the commercialism of it all. And, like,
exactly. Are so important. And I said these pomanders, believe it or not. Okay, there we go. It's starting to look a bit more.
Yeah, it's looking really
good. The nice thing about pomanders is it's kind of a lost art. It's something you see on Pinterest, but like nobody ever makes them anymore. But they really work as phenomenal air fresheners. They're great. They bring a wonderfulness into your home as far as like the essential oils and the cloves and stuff. There is actually some history. I don't know how true it is. I'm not going to lie and say that I do know, but there's a lot of history that said that the plague was actually partly mitigated in certain areas because of clove. It's a phenomenal antibacterial and stuff like that. So it's a really good thing to have around. It can also, it's also a painkiller. I don't know if people know that or not, but it's a painkiller. So
I actually have heard about that. So talking about one of the things that we used to do around the holidays, my family, my mother and her grandmothers and all the women in the family were all part of a community service organization.
Yep.
And every year we would make candy.
Yep.
And we would get special requests to make the clove candy.
Yes.
Because of, again, what you just said, it helps with, when you're feeling bad, and just has all these other health remedies. And we would make clove candy. Oh my goodness, we would always have to make that batch.
Do you have the recipe? We should post that. That sounds really cool.
You know what? I don't have the recipe, because so how it worked was we had few of the men and to go in the back of the kitchen, because they would have these giant heavy barrels, and they would make it. And so you had to have like at least 2 or 3 people to carry the candy.
Oh, wow.
Pour it all over the table, and then we would just go ahead and roll the candy and then cut the candy while it was still warm. And it was very fun. And I kind of think about that now that you're talking about the clothes. It's like, oh man, I kind of wish I had that candy. Wish I had the recipe.
You'll have to see if you do a search and see if you can find it. Maybe you can make it when I'm down there.
Yeah, I'll definitely have this.
I've made toffee before. I've never made candy, but I've made toffee before. So talking about those Yule traditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your candy and me making toffee and stuff. I come from a kind of a weird background where we didn't really have a lot of celebrations and a lot of traditions. So when I got married, we determined at that time that's when we would start building those traditions, right? So one of the things that we do again, very scheduled, is we have very scheduled movie watching.
Oh, that's definitely important.
It's very important. And it's so funny because Arthur Christmas, I don't know if any Arthur Christmas is kind of obscure, but Arthur Christmas, you're
talking about the PBS one, right?
Nope.
Which one are you talking about?
Yes, I said see, it just got me.
Yep.
Seriously, I didn't pre-poked a hole and it just, that was really painful. No, Arthur Christmas is this British movie.
Oh, okay.
About all the Father Christmases. There's a whole family of them up there. And they, of course, they pass the mantle of Santa down, right? Mm-hmm. So Arthur works in the mailroom, and he's kind of seen as a little bit of a mess up. But he loves Christmas. But all he wants to do is help his brother, who's super technologically advanced and stuff, who just wants to mechanize Christmas. All he wants to do is just help his brother to make Christmas amazing. And of course, I'm not going to spoil the whole movie for you, but of course, mayhem ensues, and Briony the elf is epic. So for us to watch Arthur Christmas without Eric would be really hard.
Yeah.
And he does still want to see it every year, even though it's a really old cartoon. And of course, we watch The Grinch, the original. Sorry, we're not huge Jim Carrey Grinch fans. I know a lot of people are.
I'm one.
Yeah, we're just not. But that said, I do like Benedict Cumberbatch a lot.
I one too. It's very cute.
It's super cute. And so we watched that one. So we've already watched that one this year. And then we also watch, I can't remember the name of it. It's about, oh my gosh, I'll think about it more. So there's another one that we watch every year, and it's kind of about how he goes up to Svalbard, and he has to do the post office up there. And he's initially quite a horrible human. And then he meets a woodsman who lost his wife. And it's about how their friendship basically created Christmas and brought happiness, not just to himself, but to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a beautiful, beautiful cartoon. It's just beautifully rendered. It's beautifully cartooned. And the message is, again, to me, although we say Christmas, it's very Yule, because it's very much about dealing with grief and dealing with getting past some of those things and being able to see the sunlight again, right? And it's a beautiful story of how two people who really have a lot of issues separately, together, heal an entire community and themselves. So, we.
I'm with you. I like the meaning and like the Yuleness of it, right? Where again, the overall term is it's Christmas, but if you really are talking about what you're talking about, the shadow work and the dark end of the season, and dealing with some of the issues that you had prior, I think the movies that you're talking about, especially the Grinch, I mean, the Grinch definitely deals with a lot of shadow work in those movies, and talk about how we can come together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And get away from the commercialism.
Exactly. So one of the things, ouch, just broke a clove. That really hurt. Even though pre-hold it, still broke.
See, but you're still tough. Like I would already see. That's so pretty.
Getting it done. So you should see the mess. I'm not going to like show you the mess that is creating on underneath here. There's just do this in a place that you can clean up because it leaves little clove bits everywhere. And that's a thing. So you can vacuum though. Vacuuming is good. Anyways, yes. Ugh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like my family, we always watch, we had set movies and stuff like that. Yeah. And again, so my background, we did have a lot of traditions because
7 o'clock.
There was a lot of us growing up. I come from a very big family. I had a lot of grandparents and aunts and uncles. And when I say a lot, I had 11 grandparents. So we were blended a lot. And so my parents made sure that we had a special day. So our special days were what we called Sunday presents. And so it's the Sunday after the American Thanksgiving. So Sunday after Thanksgiving, all the way leading up to the Sunday before Christmas. And so on those special days, we had the special books that we would read, the special movies. We would cook a special meal. So that's, we did homemade pizza night and fondue and, whatever our favorite dish was. So our favorite dish was you're going to laugh at us, but it was a casserole. We call it poppy seed casserole.
I was going to say tell me it's not funeral potatoes. I mean, that's perfect in one way, but also kind of like, oh my God, that's grim.
Oh, no. Well, actually we would have funeral potatoes. Well, we call them cheesy potatoes during this time of the year, but so we would have the quote unquote funeral potatoes throughout the season because again, you can't go to a family gathering and not have like about 5 different types of potatoes, right? Sure. But so we would have all these different traditions, and then on Christmas Eve with one of my grandparents, we would do what we call the Happy Birthday Jesus cake. And that was like the 3 layers. You had the red, the green, and the brown wrapped around with icing, put red hearts on it. And then they did the Star of David. And then we always did, we would sing the 12 Days of Christmas. And so then we also, I know you guys also did this, but we also had an epic gingerbread house competition.
Always.
Between all the, kids and stuff like that. And we would get really intense with it. But when I converted over to paganism.
Convert?
Yeah, right. I wasn't really, but when I went over to paganism and everything, I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to keep it? And, how can I make it my own? And so basically, I kept all that. Yule, we expand for my family. Again, we expanded Christmas basically throughout the whole month, and that's what I continue to do as an adult. I expanded Yule throughout the whole month, and instead of the Happy Birthday Jesus cake, we do the Happy Yule cake, right? And we do the little pentacle on top and stuff like that, and we sing, and then we still have our gingerbread, and I'm still able to still do the traditions. Cheers.
Yes.
Still do the traditions that my family, gave me, but my own, especially for this holiday. And right now, I need to kind of start bringing more nature into my home and decorate. But I don't. For me, when I went and became pagan, I did not feel that pressure anymore of
Nope.
the commercialism. Like, oh, I have to go buy all this stuff, and oh, I have to go and um, you know, dress up my house and these, I grew up in a house and it looked like Christmas was all over the place, like blah, like we had 5 Christmas trees. Not talking about little ones, we're talking about giant ones, all over the house and all
That's crazy.
all
I mean, we do that. And I mean, we've got kids, and so we do decorate outside. We put up a lot of lights, and inside, like I don't just have one pomander. We will have multiple pomanders. So I will eventually get my daughter to help me make some of these, and then we hang them up. And then we always have things like we've got tinsel and stuff hanging everywhere, and we like string like different like dried stuff, like we've got the herb things drying, and I admit it, we definitely have some tinsely stuff hanging up there, and we've got lots of like wooden stars that they made, and we got lots of things that the kids made that we put up. And we do definitely by doing that, we celebrate family. So because again, most of it my kids helped with or did, or it's something we've done since they were little. And for us, it was really important to do stuff. I'm not going to say like just the decorating and stuff like that, partly because my daughter's birthday is in December, and partly because my husband was often gone. Like we were a military family, and so Jim was often gone quite far into sorry, I had to think for a minute. So I literally have to stop thinking and figure out where my next clove is going. That's crazy that I had to like stop my train of thought to go, where does the clove go? So I'll stop for a minute. So we literally, I know, right? It's like, oh God, I cannot clove at the same time. So like Jim would be gone quite often. After Holly's birthday, he would usually get home in time for like traditional Christmas, but rarely in time for Yule. So to keep things steady and to keep things always moving, right? And my kids are autistic, so for them to always have the same pattern was really important. Like that same scheduling was really important. And so initially we didn't start decorating for Yule until after Holly's birthday on the 16th. And that made decorating for Yule so awful, because we used to have like the real tree, because again, bringing nature in, our Yule tree often has like raffia bows and lots of wooden ornaments and acorns and pine cones that the kids have found. And we have lots of special ornaments too. So like we have a barbecue and like things that we love, right? Like we love barbecue. So we have a barbecue that goes on there, and we have muffins and cupcakes that go on there, because we all love muffins and cupcakes. I think there's a hamburger still that survived the moves. So anyways, whatever. Our tree is definitely, and we got gnomes. Gnomes are all over the tree. At the top of my tree is a gnome. And so we have like gnomes on top of the tree, and gnomes kind of go through. And then our most recent addition was squishmallows. So you can get little teeny weeny squishmallows that go on your tree. Because Holly loves her stuffed animals, and I love stuffed animals. So squishmallows seem to be perfect for the Yule tree, because it brings in that light and that joy.
I like that.
Light and joy. So for us, doing the decorating, which was a multi-day affair, was a way of reminding the kids Dad was coming home. We need to have it ready for when Dad came home, right? If Jim was home, it was time for him to be able to re-blend in with the family. Super important, because sometimes he had been gone for a while and it was hard for him to know how to blend back into the family. And it just kind of kept the rhythm going. So again, having that schedule for when we watched the movies, and knowing this is the day that we did our gingerbread houses. And our gingerbread houses were crazy. We did not do traditional gingerbread houses. One year we had ninja bread houses. So we had a bunch of ninjas that were attacking the house. Some of them were decapitated. Weird, grim people. But we had...
bring the dark side, huh?
Yeah, we had a Baba Yaga's hut one year. just, yeah. And we had the zombie apocalypse was probably my favorite because we had multiple houses that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so the zombie apocalypse happened, and there's just detritus everywhere of just like bodies of gingerbread things everywhere. And I think that probably the most fun one that we did though that year, Jim was home. Um, we we did the Viking invasion of England. So again, there was
You were bringing lots of history.
always history involved with these things, and so we actually had like we carved some of the gingerbread, partly because like this was a necessity. The gingerbread did not work that year; it wouldn't stay together for whatever reason. The icing wouldn't do what it wouldn't glue, and the gingerbread itself was just like awful. And so everything we tried to make just fell apart. And so it was Eric, I think, that said, or it might have been Jim, I can't remember, who said, yeah, this is just like an invasion gone wrong. I'm like, it is an invasion gone wrong. Lesson happened. So we talked about it. It's how Holly learned that real Vikings don't have horns on their helmets. And
They don't.
They don't.
They have just hornless helmets.
They do. That's right. And so we had a ship that was careened over and then we had a bunch of Vikings attacking a village and basically razing the village. So that was our gingerbreads that year, the razed village. And we would post them on Facebook. And family members would inevitably comment how amazing these houses were. Like, oh my God, it's so pretty. And it's like, did you look closely at what you just said was pretty? Did you look at the blood and the mayhem? The impaled gumdrops? Did you look? Anyways, never asked. It doesn't matter. But it's to this day, it's such a huge part of what we do. My kids are older now. They're both adults. And I still went and bought a gingerbread house or a few for them to make. I can't remember if it's this weekend or the next weekend. I'll have to look. But we schedule these things. And now that, they're adults, we have to almost schedule more than we did when they were kids. I have more flexibility when they're kids. I'd be like, oh, yeah, no, not happening. It's on the schedule, but nay. Gingerbread house making, it makes a mess. We are not doing it. But same with like we made cookies. We always made sugar cookies and decorated them. Mm-hmm. I had to be okay with that day. So even though I made the schedule and I made the day and I'm like, that's the day we're doing it, I also gave myself grace because like sometimes it wasn't happening that day, whether it was I was just really sad because Jim was still not there. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to face the holidays on your own, or whether or not it was just I'm tired and like the kids are tired and it's just this isn't the day that it's going to work. Give yourself grace. You can make all the plans in the world, but honestly, that is the joy of homeschooling, is when you get to that day, and if that day is like nope, nay, then it's just nay, and that's okay. That's okay.
I definitely love the flexibility, and I think for me as a teacher, being in the classroom, we had to have flexibility.
Yeah.
There would be, especially around this time of year, I can't tell you how many times that we had we had things planned, this and that and the other. We even had, this is the time for testing. So everything has to be like, okay, we had to get things done. But like, I was a related arts. And so often my schedule would just be completely off the wall because, oh, okay, well, somebody came in and wants to do a choir for us, or someone came in and wants to, do a play for us, or someone came in and did this and that and the other. And, like you said, you had to be flexible, even as, even if they were in public school, there was also that flexibility that's happening. And there was also times that, I would look at my students and they had that glazed look on their eyes because they are tired. They are, they are overworked. They are done. We have done all the activities that we could possibly think of. So sometimes it would just be the day that, okay, we're just going to take it easy and we're going to do some self-learning. So what are some things that you guys want to learn about and talk about? And that's, something that's also during the season. This is a time for exploratory learning and self-reflection.
Also, like we haven't talked about it much yet with going forward with ELH, but something that we're definitely planning in the new year is a lot more virtual museum trips.
Mm-hmm.
So that we'll have places for you to go. I'm doing a book right now about I can't remember the name of it. It's like the Polar Bear's Journey or something like that. But it's based off of a piece of art that's in the Museum d'Orsay.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole book is basically about this polar bear's journey around the world, but it's based off of a piece of art. And it's so how we program, right? We base a lot of our programming, most of our programming, off of the art that is literature, writing. And so with this one, I'm actually going to include a link to the museum where they can actually take that virtual trip, and maybe they can go find that polar bear. You never know. I haven't gone there yet, so I haven't really quite figured it out. But then I thought, why can't we include other museums? Why can't we? And so if I go somewhere, my phone's going to be with me. So we may just do a virtual of here we have the oh my goodness, we call them informally the pyramids because they look like little glass pyramids. They do have a name though. The Muthart's Conservatory. Thank you, Jim. So it's called the Muthart Conservatory, which is a weird name. It's why I don't ever remember it. But it has all of the biomes in it. So desert biome, rainforest biomes. Like it's got so many biomes, and they always have like a guest biome. Mm-hmm. So and they look like pyramids.
That's so cool.
It's very cool. They're like glass pyramids. You can see them from very far away. Mm-hmm. And it's a super neat place to just kind of go. So I thought that would be a really neat trip to go to. Because we talk so much about biomes and so many of the different pods that we do.
Definitely. We definitely talk a lot about biomes and plant life and, and going into different cultures and social studies. Like, especially around this time of year, this is actually a really good time in homeschooling, I think, to actually do some studies about different cultures and how people celebrate around this time of year, Absolutely. And just kind of learn different traditions and see if that you can incorporate them into your holidays and stuff like that.
I think it's super important, and I said, I think going forward, right? Being able to incorporate lots of different things and beverage break. What have you got in yours?
Water.
I see.
Oh, see? Look at that.
My daughter made it for me.
That's so sweet.
Right? Super lucky, Mom.
Sometimes.
Sometimes I'm lucky. I'm lucky all the time. I'm one lucky human.
Oh my goodness, it's coming out so good. Oh my goodness, I love it.
Yeah, so it is coming around pretty good. So, which is nice. It's not stellar, but I think it's going. It's working for me. So, talking about other Yule traditions, ways to get through this bizarro Christmas season. I actually actively don't like to go into stores.
Same. I avoid them.
And I avoid them. And I really appreciate, and I don't want any hate people saying, oh my gosh, but local businesses. Yeah, I get local businesses. I really do. And I shop at local businesses often, as much as I possibly can. I support them 100% and think it is literally the only way our world is ever going to continue on is with those amazing people. And I also do appreciate that this is the time of year that they can make or break, right? So I get it. It's not that I'm not pro-business, but that means I go to little mom and pop shops.
Mm-hmm.
I go to my little local florist where they carry these. I should just show. Stabbing. So I wear, I don't know if you can see my earrings. It's pretty little earrings.
Yes.
Little Edmonton designer. Can I remember her name? No, but I will post it somewhere. She's extraordinary. She works in sterling silver.
Mm-hmm.
and she's at my little local florist shop, and like she's just amazing. I wanted a certain type of earring. I just emailed, and lo and behold, I got my earring. And again, these people, they really rely on this time of year. So, you know, one of the things I talk about in the Pagan 101 class is, do you barter for tools, right? Do you say, I'm not paying that for an athame, give it to me for $20 less? Do you do that? You're right. Yeah. So, but believe it or not, it does happen an awful lot. And so the rule of thumb is it's a fair energy exchange. That's how it goes. So barter is part of the culture, because sometimes it is. And barter is expected. Well, I'm not going to say don't barter. However, the point of it is that you enter into a fair exchange. It is a fair exchange for what they do. A fair energy exchange. So if they feel a hardship by you going and bartering hard, then that's not a fair energy exchange. And that is, oops, just dropped a clove. And that is not okay. That is not okay for your tools. And it's also not okay going forward and purchasing stuff either. So that said, her stuff is also wickedly affordable. Like these earrings, even though they're cast and they are sterling silver, she only charged, again, Canadian prices, people in America do not gasp. Things just cost more up here. So
I was shocked how much you guys spend.
So they were $60. And I'm not going to say, hey, give those to me for $50, because fair energy exchange. I get so much joy out of them and so much love. And I want her to do well, so we don't have a problem.
Also, here's how I also look at this, especially with small businesses and or anything. You know, someone's taking a time and they're building it and they're putting their energy and their work and the intention that they wanted it to be. Yep. And, you know, to me, that's important. And so if I, you know, again, with the energy exchange and the bartering, you know, I will give you $60 for that because you put that much work into it.
Yeah. You know? She put work into it. She, you know, put her love and energy and all of her hope and dreams into those earrings so that somebody like me would find them, love them, and buy them, right? So when I was working outside of ELH and pulling an income, I used to actually go there every month and buy a new pair. Well, because I love them so much. So I actually managed to get a little bit of a collection of hers. And I'm so happy because now that I don't work there anymore, I still have all of the beautiful memories and all of the beautifulness from that. And my husband literally knows where to buy me something. So there's never been an earring that woman has made that I didn't love, or a necklace actually that she's made that I didn't love. So
that's awesome. So easy. Going into that,
I just got sprayed by orange. Oh, sorry. It's like, ew.
It smells really nice and clovey and orangey.
It smells so clovey in here and orangey. You have no idea. It's like, wow. It's clearing them sinuses, man. I can feel the disease fleeing from me as we speak. It is just out of here. It's like, yeah, can't stay too much clove.
But so, you know, for me, you know, I'm going to support small businesses where I can, obviously, but this is a time for me where I really try to, like Eric, like what your son did, make the homemade presents. You know, this is a time that I am definitely making the homemade crackers. I am making all the desserts and stuff like that, and you know, sending it to the, you know, my loved ones and stuff like that. And you know, I think that's, you know, going back into homeschooling and stuff like that, teaching kids, you know, hey, you're putting time and work into it, and you're giving your energy, your intention, you know, to the people that you love.
On that note, I was online and I was reading on a witchy forum. This woman had taken all this time to make a beautiful blanket for a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
It was homemade. It was beautifully done, in my opinion. I thought it was very pretty. And the person said, "Oh my gosh, is that homemade? And did you make that?" She was so upset in her post, and the person even criticized the color. Like, the color wasn't right. The color wasn't good. And I mean, I've had that experience with one of my family members who said, "Yeah, wow, great for the gift, so doesn't fit my decor." And it's so hurtful. Oh, I know. It happens.
I can't imagine.
But
Like,
for,
okay, people go on, you have places like Etsy where
Yep.
people go online to
Yep.
get the things. They even buy things to make it have that homemade look, right? They pay extra for the homemade look.
They pay extra for the mistakes just so it makes sure it looks homemade. No, but for sure. And like, that's the thing though, is it isn't just that it's homemade. It's that someone who loves you took the time, right, to make this for you, so you have something of them all year round. Like, it's literally like a part of you, right? And there's something so amazingly beautiful about that, right?
Definitely. So, I mean,
I think that's part of our Yule too, and part of our teaching at this time of year is A, be thankful for the skills you have, pass them on, and B, be thankful for the gifts you get, because somebody put a lot of love into that.
Exactly.
There's matter at this time of year. Although that said, I do have a funny story about that. Want to hear it?
Definitely.
Okay. So when I was younger,
my
grandma, who I love very, very much, my grandma Riley, made me a sweater. And I love my grandma very, very, very much. She was like just everything to me. She was like everything to me. I can't even tell you how much I miss her, especially this time of year. And the sweater was that color.
That's like Tennessee orange. Go Vols.
Might even have been a little bit brighter than that. Won't lie. So it was intense orange. And I do love orange. I like more of a burnt orange. I like an earthy orange. Not so orange that it's into the brown, but this was literally like, oh my God, orange, right? And so I looked at her and I said, "Oh, wow. Thank you for crocheting me a sweater in one of my favorite colors, in the most polyester yarn known to man." So like this kind of yarn, this is hardcore polyester yarn. Like, we're not talking, "Oh my gosh, I love that fuzzy yarn." No, nay. This kind of yarn. And it was crocheted so tightly, because she's really good at crocheting. It was crocheted so tightly that when you poofed it, it stood up like a traffic cone. Sleeves were poofed. They were giant poofy sleeves.
Wow.
And they stayed that way. They did not, you could dent them. So I poked it and it did actually dent. It dented. And it was very, for lack of a better word, it was very straight. It was a tube sweater. Now, you cannot tell on screen that I am not a tube. There's nothing about them that is a tube. Nothing about them is tubish. And so I went, "Thank you, Grandma. I love the color."
Thank you. I love it. That's what we always had to say.
I love it. And she's like, "Go try it on." I was like, "Okay." And my aunt that was there, my aunt said, "Oh, no. She's dressed so pretty. Like, maybe let's try it on another day. And my grandma was like, no, she loves that color. I'm like, I do love the color. I do love orange. Not that color orange, but I do love orange. So I'm going to go put the sweater on. And my aunt, who knew that sweater was not going to go over anything, said, I will come and help you put on the sweater. So it had a boat neck.
Uh-huh.
So I learned something that day. Boat necks are really a fetching neckline for somebody who's got a good set up front. And so I didn't even need to wear any type of undergarments because it literally just sucked everything in and spilled it out the top. And you know what? We got it on. That's all I'm going to say. Like, it took two of us to get it on, but I got that sweater on. And then I went downstairs to go, I just love it, Grandma. You just lie. And that point in time, those are good lies, right? My grandma would have been hurt if I said, I hate this so much. I can't even get it on.
Hold on. You still loved it because your grandma made this sweater especially for you.
I love the fact that she made it for me. I did not really love the sweater. Right. Or how uncomfortable I was at the immodesty of the sweater, for lack of a better word. This sweater was...
from what you're describing, sounds like it was really, really tight.
It was very tight. And not... Yeah. Well, not really very flattering. I mean, it just...
The traffic cone.
The sleeves were huge. And so I was like, okay, sleeving on. And so I come downstairs and I was prepared in every way, shape, and form to say how much I loved my grandmother and how much I loved this stupid sweater. And my grandma took one look at me and went, oh, dear God, take it off. That's horrendous. Oh, get her something to cover. I looked at my aunt, blamed her, and said, what were you thinking, even letting her come downstairs and mixed company with that on? No word of a lie. So couldn't actually get the sweater off easily. It took 3 of us to get the sweater off, with me just basically doing this. Well, they inched it up and over because there's like no stretch in this sweater at all, like none. And so, yeah. So at the end of the day, we all had a really good laugh over it. And my grandma gave me the most amazing hug. And then the joke was out because she pulled out my real present. And she had actually crocheted me the most beautiful coverlet for my bed.
Oh,
all of the yarn, because my grandma and I would ball yarn for the thrift store. Mm-hmm. So darn socks, ball yarn and stuff, because people would just like throw in a big bag of whatever. And so we'd have to separate it and ball it out so we could sell it, right? And so I had balled up so much yarn in my life. She had taken a whole bunch of the yarn that was just left over. It wasn't big enough for one project, and maybe a granny square quilt out of it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
To this day, I still have it. But she laughed until, I swear to God, she laughed until the day she died about the fact that I actually managed to get that sweater on.
That's so sweet. But you see, again, it's the memories, right? That's you know, you remember the love and the care and the laughter that that you had to endure with the sweater. And I think it's really, really sweet. And I think wrapping it up, the biggest thing that we want to kind of push out there during a season is really just, reflect and, self-love, love each other, and, just send out good
I mean, remember that although we don't have the same religion, we can espouse the same joy of season. Just because they say Christmas and you say Yule doesn't mean you can't wish somebody a happy holiday. Mm-hmm. And just because they practice more commercialism and we don't practice as much commercialism doesn't mean you can't say thank you for the gift and return with a pomander ball or return with, my husband does beautiful cross stitch. It's about the thought And that's something that we share. That's a shared thing. That isn't something that we own as pagans. We don't own that. We have to share that, because a lot of people do believe that regardless of where they come from or what their spiritual belief is. We may come at it differently. We may have different words and different names, but it's really about togetherness and community. And, you know, if there's one thing I can say, like, how do you deal with Yule in your family amongst all the Christmas? Stay true to your beliefs. Stay true to your family, and knowing that the family is the center. And if it is only 2 people in your family and there are no children, that is still your family. Your cats are your family, your dogs are your family, your husband is your family, your wife is your family. You know, it's, and if you're alone and you're a solitary person, that's fine too. Then your friends become your family. And that in itself is probably the most beautiful expression. Candy and I started an orphans Yule one year, and it was for all, because again, military families, it was for all of the people that didn't really have anywhere to go. And there's so much of this season that's about, oh gosh, well, where are you going to go? Or what family do you have? Or, you know, whatever, what traditions do you have? You know, whose tree, whose whatever. And the fact is, we have to remember, not everybody has that. Sometimes there are people who don't have anything. They're lonely. They've lost their partner. Sometimes their partner has passed away. They've moved away. They're military. They're far away from their families. That's a real thing. The military thing's a real thing. And so try and think about that for a bit and see if you've got room in your family. See if you got room at your table for somebody who's not an orphan by the strictest stance, but they're orphaned in your community. One of the things my mom was really adamant about every year is we spent quite often Christmas Day and possibly even Christmas Eve at the old folks' home or soup kitchen. Super fun. I didn't really enjoy the soup kitchening, but I really liked the old folks' home. I can sing, so I would go there, play piano, and sing for the people that were there, because believe it or not, they don't often get a lot of visitors, and they're so thankful for you to go. And that's absolutely part of Yule. Sharing that joy that you have, pass it on. I just got cloved in the eyeball. I swear to God, did that come across on the camera? Literally dinged in my eyeball. That actually kind of hurt.
I'm sorry.
I know, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I should have been wearing safety goggles. Who knew? But definitely look at some charitable acts. Definitely look at how can you, and if you think you're not teaching your kids something about that, you really are. I learned so much in the times that we went to the old folks' homes and stuff like that. Just the sheer joy that someone have. I may have sung Silent Night 80 billion times over the course of this season. But you know what? For that one woman, that one time I went there, she's this old lady, and she just took my hand and she said, please, could you just sing Silent Night just please, just once? And I'm like, and my mom's like, just sing the song. I'm like, I've sung it like 6 times today already. Like, I'm kind of done. And she's like, but she hasn't heard it. I'm like, fine. And I sang for her, and she cried. She actually cried at the and then she actually passed away the next day, which is not because of my singing. I'm actually a really good singer, but like maybe that was just something she needed to hear to move on.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's kind of part of it, right? That is the joy of bringing your joy to someone else. And, you know, nothing brought it home closer than that one.
Excuse me.
An Amazing Grace. Do you know, I have to like just kind of like reflecting on, do you know how many times I've sung Amazing Grace? And yes, I am pagan, but to those people who needed to hear it at that time, I again will make all the exceptions in the world to bring happiness, because again, they're just words, and they're beautifully well-loved songs. So again, with Yule, do you sing Christmas carols? I don't know. I try singing the Yule versions of them at home.
I usually try to do the Yule versions or try. I don't sing. Oh my goodness! But I do put on my Spotify list and try to find all the.
Oh my God! Do you not love Spotify? Oh,
Spotify.
I love the Spotify list. We'll have to share lists because I don't think we've done that yet. But I'm really blessed because like Eric will, my son Eric will find me all these great Spotify lists for Yule and stuff. But like it's important to realize that, you know, part of the season is just being better and giving. And if that's one of the only things I have to give, then I'll give that. And I'm not going to worry about it. Do you really think the goddess cares?
No. As long as you put your heart into it.
Exactly.
Well, on that note,
I had so much left.
Oh my goodness. You got so much done. Oh my
There
goodness.
it is. The commenter's almost done. I'm going to leave the little pattern there. And then, so there you go.
I love it. That's awesome.
There you go. Almost done pomander.
Well, on that note, if you're interested, if you're interested in checking out our magazine for more ideas on how to celebrate Yule and integrate that into your holiday season, check out our crafts and our full moon rituals, please check out our magazine at equinoxlearning.com. And it's free. Just check on it. And we're just give you some great ideas. But thank you so very much for joining us, and happy Yule. And Tori, oh my goodness, it just looks, can you show that again?
There it is. So, and again, you just kind of hang it up and it will dry over the course of the season. And there you go.
That looks so cool.
Yeah. So, and I said, if you have lots of them, you can either make a bowl of them in lots of different patterns. Or you can just hang them. I'm going to hang them from we have a beam in here, so I'm going to hang them from that beam. But yeah, and it brings that that festiveness into your home. And if nothing else, it reminds you Yule is about something more. Yule is your heart, right? And so if you always remember, like Yule is kind of your heart, you know, Samhain's kind of your New Year's, and we're dealing with a whole bunch of ancestor stuff then. But Yule's where we bring the light back in. We do celebrate the dark, but really what we're celebrating is the light coming back. And in that case, you have to understand, like, to me, the orange is like definitely a symbol of that coming back, right? So again, always remembering like the next step. So I think it's good. I don't know. Happy pomandering. That's all I can say. Hopefully yours turns out beautiful, and that you can enjoy the season and bring some sunshine into your universe.
Well, thank you again for joining us at our chit chat, and we'll hope to see you guys soon. Thank you. Bye. Bye.